The door to dressing room 7 at the Sands Hotel opened at 11:17 p.m. on September 23, 1971. Frank Sinatra was sitting in front of his makeup mirror, bow tie undone, third scotch halfway to his lips when he saw the reflection. Clint Eastwood, standing in the doorway, not smiling, not speaking, just standing there with that look in his eyes that had made him famous. The glass stopped midway to Sinatra's mouth. For 3 full seconds, neither man moved. The makeup lights buzzed. Cigarette smoke drifted between them. Down the hallway, a woman laughed. But in that dressing room, the silence was suffocating. Sinatra set down his glass. Ice cubes clicked against crystal. "You got a reason for being here, Eastwood?" Clint stepped inside and closed the door. The click echoed like a gunshot. "We need to talk." "About what?" "You know what." Sinatra turned to face him. His tuxedo jacket hung on the costume rack. His white shirt was stained dark under the arms from 2 hours on stage. His eyes were bloodshot from exhaustion and whiskey. But there was something else in those eyes now. Something dangerous. "Dirty Harry," Sinatra said. It wasn't a question. Clint didn't answer. He just stood there, 3 feet inside the door, hands loose at his sides, waiting. What happened in the next 12 minutes would never be officially documented. No cameras captured it, no journalist reported it. But 3 people heard every word through the thin walls, and by morning the story would spread through Hollywood like wildfire. To understand that night, you need to understand what Dirty Harry meant to Frank Sinatra. It wasn't just another role. It was supposed to be his comeback, his transition from crooner to serious dramatic actor. Warner Brothers offered him the part in December 1970. Harry Callahan, a San Francisco cop who didn't play by the rules. Sinatra loved the script immediately. "It's a marvelous script," he told reporters. "We're shooting it in San Francisco. I chose that location myself." He'd gotten the studio to change the setting from New York to San Francisco. He'd talked about how the city had never been photographed properly. For 3 months, Sinatra prepared. He worked with the writers. He discussed camera angles with director Don Siegel. He practiced with the .44 Magnum that would become the film's signature weapon. Then his hand started bothering him. The old injury from the Manchurian Candidate had never healed properly. When he picked up that massive revolver, his hand cramped. The gun was too heavy. His grip wasn't strong enough. In March 1971, Sinatra made the phone call that would haunt him forever. He told Warner Brothers he couldn't do it. Medical reasons. He was devastated. The studio moved on immediately. They offered it to John Wayne, then Paul Newman, then Steve McQueen. Everyone passed. Then they called a 41-year-old actor who'd made his name in Italian westerns. A guy from TV, Clint Eastwood, said yes. By September 1971, Clint Eastwood had done what Frank Sinatra couldn't. He'd made Dirty Harry into a phenomenon. The film hadn't been released yet, but the buzz in Hollywood was deafening. Test screenings were causing fistfights over seats. Studio executives who'd seen early cuts were calling it the most important cop film since The French Connection. Clint had taken the role that 5 major stars rejected and turned it into something nobody could look away from. He'd rewritten parts of the script. He'd stripped out the melodrama. He'd made Harry Callahan simple and terrifying. A man who didn't need to explain himself. The film was scheduled to release in December. Already, Warner Brothers was talking sequels, about a franchise, about Clint Eastwood becoming one of the biggest stars in the world. Frank Sinatra had been reading the trade papers. He'd seen the production stills. He'd heard the rumors about Clint's performance, and it was eating him alive, because every article mentioned the same thing. Wasn't this supposed to be Frank Sinatra's role? Yes. Yes, it was. And now, on a Thursday night in Las Vegas, 3 months before Dirty Harry would change cinema forever, Clint Eastwood had walked uninvited into Frank Sinatra's dressing room. Sinatra stood up. The chair scraped against the floor. "You came here to gloat?" Clint's expression didn't change. "I came here because you've been talking." "Talking?" Sinatra's voice went up. "What's that supposed to mean?" "You've been telling people I stole your role." The air in the room changed. Sinatra's face flushed red, not from embarrassment, from rage. "I didn't say you stole anything." "No?" Clint took one step forward. "Then what did you tell Dean at the Riviera last week?" Sinatra's jaw tightened. "Dean Martin. Of course Dean had talked. I told Dean the truth, Sinatra said. That role was mine. The studio promised it to me. I had 3 months of prep work done. Then they gave it to you the second I stepped away. You didn't step away, Clint said quietly. You quit. I had a medical issue. You had a lame excuse. The words hung in the air like a bomb. Sinatra's hands curled into fists. His breathing got heavier. The vein in his temple pulsed. What did you just say? Clint didn't blink. I said it was a lame excuse. The studio said your hand couldn't hold the gun. But I've seen you hold a gun in 5 movies. I've seen you play golf, conduct an orchestra. Your hand works fine when you want it to. Sinatra took a step forward. Now they were less than 2 feet apart, close enough to smell the whiskey on each other's breath. You calling me a liar? I'm saying you got scared. Down the hallway in dressing room 5, wardrobe assistant Rita Lopez heard Frank Sinatra's voice explode. Scared? You think I was scared? Sinatra's arm shot out. His index finger jabbed toward Clint's chest, stopping inches from contact. His whole body leaned forward, invading space, trying to intimidate. I've been making movies since before you were out of diapers. I've worked with Brando, Lancaster, Mitchum. I won an Oscar when you were playing cowboys on TV. Don't you dare tell me I was scared. His voice got louder with every sentence. The flush in his face spread down his neck. Sweat beaded on his forehead. That role was mine. The studio wrote it for me. They built the production around my schedule. Changed the location because I asked. Promised me top billing and final cut. M.E., not you. Clint stood perfectly still. His arms hung loose. His face showed nothing. No anger, no fear. Just that squint. Sinatra's pointing finger moved higher, level with Clint's face. And then my hand acts up, and what do? They don't wait. They don't postpone. They throw the script at every actor in Hollywood until some TV cowboy says yes. He jabbed the finger closer. That's what you are, Eastwood. A TV cowboy who got lucky. You didn't earn that role. You didn't deserve it. You just happened to be available. The makeup lights buzzed. The cigarette had burned down to the filter. Outside, Las Vegas kept spinning, but in dressing room 7, time had stopped. And Clint Eastwood still hadn't said a word. 47 seconds. That's how long Clint stood there without responding. Rita Lopez, listening from down the hall, counted them. 47 seconds of absolute silence while Frank Sinatra stood there, finger extended, breathing hard. Most men would have filled that silence, defended themselves, argued back. Most men would have at least looked away. Clint did none of those things. He just stood there, looking at Sinatra with that expressionless face, that slight squint, that complete stillness that made him look like a coiled snake. The silence became unbearable. Sinatra's extended arm started to shake. Not from fear, from the strain of holding the aggressive posture too long. His finger dropped 6 inches, then a foot. Then his arm fell to his side. Say something, Sinatra said. His voice was quieter now, almost hoarse. Clint's head tilted slightly to the left, maybe half an inch, but it changed his expression completely, made him look curious, like he was studying an animal. You done? Clint said. 2 words. That's all it took. 2 words delivered in a tone so flat they hit harder than any shout. Sinatra's mouth opened, then closed. His face went from red to white. The flush drained from his cheeks like someone had pulled a plug. Yeah, Clint continued, same flat monotone. I thought so. He took 1 step back, giving Sinatra space. But the gesture didn't feel respectful. It felt dismissive. You want to know why they called me? Clint said. You want the real reason I got your role? Sinatra didn't answer. He just stood there, fists clenched. It wasn't your hand, Clint continued. Your hand was fine. Everyone knew it. The studio knew it. The director knew it. You knew it. He moved to the makeup table and picked up Sinatra's scotch glass, looked at it, set it down. You quit because you read the script again, really read it, and you realize Harry Callahan isn't a hero. He's dangerous, uncontrollable, and you got scared playing him would ruin your image. Sinatra's voice came out as a growl. That's not true. No? Clint turned to face him. Then why'd you take Dirty Dingus McGee instead? A comedy western nobody wanted to see? Why choose that over playing the toughest cop in cinema history? The question landed like a body blow. Clint was right. In 1970, while Dirty Harry was in pre-production, Sinatra signed on for Dirty Dingus McGee, a comedy that bombed. You wanted another lovable rogue, Clint said. Another charming guy audiences would root for. You weren't ready to play someone who makes people uncomfortable. He took a step closer. Now he was the one invading space. The studio didn't betray you, Frank. You betrayed yourself. You chose safe over great. And now you're angry because I chose different. The makeup lights seemed harsher, showing every line on Sinatra's face. Get out, Sinatra said. Clint stood there for 3 seconds. Then he did something nobody expected. He smiled. Not big, just a slight upturn at the corner of his mouth. You know what the funny thing is? Clint said. I watched you in The Manchurian Candidate. That scene where you realize you've been brainwashed. That's the best acting I've ever seen. Sinatra's expression shifted, confusion replacing anger. You were terrifying in that movie, Clint continued. Dangerous, unpredictable, everything Harry Callahan needed to be. You could have played him better than me. He moved toward the door, stopped with his hand on the knob. But you didn't trust yourself. You thought the audience wouldn't accept you as the bad guy. So you let fear make your decisions. Clint opened the door. The sounds of the hallway rushed in. Music from the casino. Laughter. Slot machines. The studio didn't give me your role, Frank. You threw it away. There's a difference. He stepped into the hallway. Eastwood. Clint stopped, turned back. Sinatra was still standing by the makeup table, but his posture had changed. His shoulders were slumped. The fight had gone out of him. Is it good? Sinatra's voice was quiet. The film, is it as good as they're saying? For the first time that night, Clint's expression softened. Yeah, it's good. Better than I would have been? Clint considered the question. Different. Not better or worse, just different. Sinatra nodded, picked up his scotch glass, drained it. You're going to be huge after this. Maybe. Not maybe. Definitely. Clint stood in the doorway for a moment longer. Down the hall, Rita Lopez was pressing her ear against the wall. In the casino below, tourists were losing money. In 3 months, Dirty Harry would premiere and change action cinema forever. But right now, 2 men who'd been on opposite sides of Hollywood's biggest missed opportunity were finally understanding each other. I saw the Rat Pack at the Sands in '63, Clint said. Front row. Best show I ever saw. You own that stage. Sinatra looked up. But you've been playing the same character for 20 years. The charming drunk. The lovable rogue. You're brilliant at it. But you're capable of more. He pulled something from his jacket. A small white card. Set it on the makeup table. That's my agent's number. If you ever want to do something that scares you again, call him. Tell him I said you should play the villain. Sinatra picked up the card. The villain? Best roles in cinema are villains. They get to tell the truth. Heroes have to lie. Clint smiled slightly. You're too good at telling the truth to waste it on heroes. He stepped into the hallway. Good show tonight. I caught the last 20 minutes. That's life still hits different when you sing it. Thanks. And Frank? Clint paused. Your hand was never the problem. The problem was you thought people wanted you to stay the same. But the world's changing. There's room for you to change with it. The door closed. Clint's footsteps faded. In dressing room 7, Frank Sinatra sat down and stared at his reflection. 3 months later, Dirty Harry premiered in San Francisco. Clint Eastwood became one of the biggest stars in the world overnight. The film made $36 million on a $4 million budget. It spawned 4 sequels. The Do You Feel Lucky Punk scene became iconic. Frank Sinatra never played a villain. He never called Clint's agent. He continued making films through the 70s until retiring in 1980. When asked about Dirty Harry, he'd smile and say it worked out for the best. But people who knew him said he never stopped wondering. Rita Lopez kept the story to herself for 20 years. She finally told it in a 1991 Hollywood oral history interview. Her account was the only documentation of what happened in dressing room 7. The conversation lasted 12 minutes. 2 men, 1 role, a lifetime of what-ifs. Years later, a journalist asked Clint about confronting Sinatra backstage. Clint gave that slight smile. Frank and I had a conversation once. He was a good guy. People thought he was all swagger, but he was just as scared as the rest of us. Just better at hiding it. What did you talk about? Choices, regrets, the normal stuff. Did you tell him he made a mistake turning down Dirty Harry? Clint shook his head. I told him he made the choice that felt right at the time. That's all any of us can do. The Sands Hotel was demolished in 1996. Dressing Room 7 is now part of a parking lot. But the story remains. A reminder that sometimes the roles we don't take define us as much as the ones we do.